What sorts of things did 9 Trey members do?
We participated in a lot of, violent crimes.
Whether you love him, hate him, or really hate him, 6ix9ine is a big part of the news in regards to the rap world. His arrest and subsequent plea deal has led to many different stories, and one of the most important ones is about what will happen to him now that he snitched on his former crew.
Robberies, assaults, sorts of that nature.
Be sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel.
Do you want to win any of these items on your screen? If so, be sure to watch the whole video, leave a like, and comment the hidden message. And with that being said, let's get right into the video.
The situation so far. Okay, this all started a long time ago when 6ix9ine decided he wanted to become a rapper. In this quest to do so, he joined an illegal group with the promise that he would give them money in return for giving him a rap career via their influence. As weird as that sounds, it honestly did work, and 6ix9ine slowly became one of the big mumble rap of the subgenre, as well as one of the most controversial rappers in the whole game. But sadly for him, that's where it all went wrong. Because whether you want to call it lack of foresight, lack of brains, or just terrible choices in life, which he has in abundance, he then went on a tear of sorts and started doing a lot of things for the 9 Treys that were, well, illegal. And since he kept blasting on his tracks and in interviews and such that he was a 9 Trey, people started to notice that he might actually have the information needed to take them down. Mainly, the FBI realized that he might have something, so they went and made a case, one that had evidence from multiple illegal acts about 6ix9ine and his former crew, which included his manager, that he fired 2 weeks before the event in question I'm about to name, perpetrated the name of the 9 Treys. So, after a while of doing that, the FBI arrested 6ix9ine and his former crew on November 18th, 2018, including dropping some very heavy charges on them, like racketeering and conspiracy, which are felony charges with guaranteed jail time. End of story, you might think? Not so fast, because that was just the end of the first chapter. Fast forward a few months and 6ix9ine got a deal of a lifetime. If he snitched on his crew, both the ones arrested with him and the 9 Treys at large, he would get a lesser sentence as a whole. It would just depend on how much he gave the FBI and the other parties involved in the case. Needless to say, he took that deal, and from February 2018 up until now, 6ix9ine has been working his magic in the courtroom so that he can try and get his freedom back in whatever form it came in. So the question now is, how successful was he in doing that? Making a list, ratting on them twice. So, the table was set for 6ix9ine to get out of jail. All he had to do was go and rat out everyone he possibly could and make it either as truthful as possible or convince them that they were part of the big picture. Not lying, to be clear, but you'll see what I mean later. The first steps were honestly the easiest for 6ix9ine. All he had to rat on was the crew that was arrested with him during the November 2018 sting/arrest. And it was clear early on that he didn't feel any connection with these guys because he had fired all of them 2 weeks before the arrest on grounds of them stealing from 6ix9ine. Furthermore, the FBI provided recordings to 6ix9ine, likely to encourage him to take the plea deal, that these same crew members, who were again part of the 9 Treys as well, were talking smack behind his back and even threatening to violate it in order to get him back in his place, likely speaking to how 6ix9ine was probably rocking the boat, and thus they wanted to put a stop to it before he caused any trouble for the group at large. Oh, the irony. So yeah, after getting the plea deal and working out all the angles, 6ix9ine started by ratting on them in the biggest way possible, by telling the courts all about the publicly documented events that featured him, but never got any arrests, including events involving rival groups in New York at the Barclays Center, the incident with a fellow rapper in Texas because of a rival beef, and on and on. He gave them inside details, proof on who gave the orders for the strikes, and more. By the time of this video, pretty much every one of his former crew has been locked up and sentenced to heavy time, including his former manager Shotty, who got some of the hardest times of the lot, and the other members have been sentenced in their own ways. Even now, some of his testimony from that time has led to the arrest of people who were associated with the 9 Treys, including a pair that were involved in actually trying to capture 6ix9ine. You can bet he felt some pleasure putting them behind bars. Fast forward to September of 2019, and 6ix9ine was at it again, this time giving even more details on the 9 Treys organization. What his role in the whole thing was, he was the money, and other people that were associated with the group. He even dropped some big bombshells in regards to people who did certain attacks on other rappers and crews, and some surprising people that may either be members of the 9 Treys or have associated with them in the past. One such person was Jim Jones, who has been very critical of 6ix9ine ever since he was revealed to be a snitch. 6ix9ine also stated that Cardi B was a member and said so on the stand. That's what I meant by convincing people that something he said was true, because Cardi B denies being a 9 Trey but admits she was with another group that roots from the same organization, and 6ix9ine never specifically said that Cardi was a 9 Trey, so yeah, it's complicated. No matter what though, throughout his entire testimony so far, and the fact that he'll likely testify more in the upcoming months, there is no doubt that 6ix9ine has honestly done his job and followed the rules and letter of the law in regards to his plea deal. So let's ask the honest question, what does that get him in return? Off the table, life sentence and long-term sentence. Alright, let's start with the good news for 6ix9ine. When he got arrested, he was facing some very serious charges, to the extent that 2 of the charges lobbied against him, 9 in total, had life sentences if he was convicted to them. And given the evidence that the FBI had, he would have gotten convicted of them. So yeah, life sentences are bad, but thankfully for him, because he signed the plea deal, he was automatically guaranteed to not get a life sentence charge on either count. So no matter what, he won't spend the rest of his life, should he grow old that is, in prison. Good for him. Now the other thing he basically guaranteed via his long-term snitching is that he wouldn't be given a long sentence in prison despite him pleading guilty to various charges. This was meant to ensure he didn't just walk away scot-free. At a minimum, should he not have gotten convicted of the life sentences, he would have found himself facing a minimum charge of 47 years. Given that 6ix9ine is in his 20s, that meant he would have been really old by the time he got out, or potentially, depending on the year count, he would have spent the rest of his life in jail. It's hard to see how it would have all played out, but for him, it would have been bad. But again, he went and snitched on everyone he could, and likely will continue to do so until his sentencing hearing. He ensured that a long-term sentence in his prison is off the table, which for him is a major victory no matter what way you look at it, because now he's facing either a small sentence, a really small sentence, or potentially having days until his release. So let's break those down next. Possibility, release imminent. This particular one isn't just based on the fact that he had a recent court date, but rather when the news started spreading around that 6ix9ine was doing a really good job of convicting his fellow former crew members of their crimes, there was a possibility that he could be let off soon. His lawyers were even saying that they felt he could be released as soon as September. Obviously that didn't happen, but the intent of the matter is still there. He could be released soon because of his good behavior and his work with bringing down his former crew and the 9 Treys. How likely is this? It's honestly hard to tell, and for the very simple reason that courts and laws are anything but easy to predict. Plus, it's technically still scheduled for January 2020, so if he doesn't get that moved up, he's going to be in jail until that point, at the very minimum. Another thing you should consider is the FBI factor in all of this. 6ix9ine isn't just a snitch to them, he's also their biggest lead into getting the 9 Treys taken off the streets. If they don't get as much as they can out of him while they still have him assigned to the plea deal, they're technically missing out on. So they may make him wait until at least the sentencing hearing in January to make sure they get everything he knows and more. Possibility, release next year sometime. If we're aiming to talk the honest to goodness best case scenario for 6ix9ine, outside of getting released in the next month or so, his best option is to hope that he gets out sometime in early 2020. This would likely entail that the judge over the case believes that 6ix9ine has fulfilled his obligations for the plea deal and thus deserves to get off early, with the exception of 1 more month or 2 in prison to fully pay for his crimes. Which, to be honest, spending over a year in jail for crimes that could have gotten you life in prison is something that most criminals wish they could have gotten the offer for. Even in the worst case scenario for this outcome, the judge could rule that he has to stay a full 2 years, which would mean he'd get out in November or early December of 2020, which again isn't the worst option of the lot because he'll still be in the non-violent offenders ward where he is now, and thus be protected from those who would want to hurt him because the FBI will ensure he's kept safe. And whether he wants to admit this or not, the option may be the best one for him because it gives the FBI some extra time to nail the 9 Treys and thus ensure he doesn't have anyone coming after him once he's released. So for 6ix9ine, he just needs to weigh whether he wants to get out early and live his life in fear, or spend a little more time in jail and then when he gets out, be able to do what he wants without fear. One choice definitely seems better than the other, don't you think? Possibility, serious jail time. There's been a lot of talk about 6ix9ine getting out early, and yet, for those who honestly know his plea deal, not anywhere does it say that 6ix9ine is guaranteed to get out soon. It just says that he won't be getting life in prison, nor that he will get 47 years minimum. However, do recall that he did have to plead guilty to certain charges that will remain on his record. Furthermore, 6ix9ine has a very long and sketchy relationship with the law, and because of this, a judge may say that the only reason he snitched is because he wanted to get out as early as possible. Ironically enough, when on the stand in September, an attorney asked him the very same question, and he basically admitted that he was snitching to get leniency, which is honest, but also telling. So what could be his fate? Well, despite helping out with getting the other crew members and fellow 9 Trey members arrested and locked away, a judge could easily say that 6ix9ine has not fulfilled his role to society for his part in these crimes. Thus, he could order that 6ix9ine spend the next, say, 5 to 10 years in jail. That would be a very fitting punishment, and something that I think 6ix9ine would fear more than spending life in prison. Why is that? Simple. 6ix9ine wants to get out so that he can get back to rap. However, as many rappers will know, the longer you're away from the game, the more time that can be used to get people to move by you. So if he's gone for over 5 years, that would mean a whole new generation of rappers would be around to drop music and lure his fans away. Not to mention he was never the biggest rapper in the game, just a controversial one. So if he's gone for 5 to 10 years, by the time he's back, he might not have any place in rap anymore. Possibility, witness protection. This one is a bit ironic due to recent events. When 6ix9ine agreed to do the plea deal, the FBI arranged for him to have the option to go into witness protection in order to save him from the retaliation from the 9 Treys should it come to that. A very generous offer if I do say so myself. After his September trial appearances, sources close to 6ix9ine say the rapper is going to forego witness protection when he gets out so that he can get back to his rap career faster. This is of course banking on the hope that he'll get out really soon and not in a few years. Obviously his mind can change on the matter, including getting wise and admitting that he does need help to keep both him and his loved ones safe. But witness protection is a choice, one that he would need to make, and as he no doubt realizes, if he does get into witness protection, he can't be 6ix9ine anymore. He'd have to be someone else until he can show his face in New York again, of which he'd be moved out in order to protect himself and his family. That can take a lot of time, in fact. Whether he takes this offer or not will heavily depend on both the status of the 9 Treys as well as how much more time he'll be forced to spend in jail. So while he may be saying one thing now, he might be singing a whole different tune later. And there you have it, a look at the states of events that 6ix9ine is caught up in and how it's going to affect his future as a whole. What do you think of these scenarios in which 6ix9ine might be locked up for? Do you think they're more plausible than him getting released soon? If he will get released soon in your mind, when and why? Let me know in the comments below. Be sure to subscribe, and I'll see you next time on King Trending.
A simple reminder on how to enter our brand new giveaway. We will be giving away either an iPhone X Max, the new iPad mini, or a MacBook Pro. It's really your choice. So be sure to leave a like, comment the keyword, subscribe, and turn on notifications to enter the giveaway. It's really that simple. Go for it.